Hey guys, welcome back to ASJ Tech. Now, first of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who watched my last video, my first attempt. Thank you for powering through all my stutterings and the background noise. So, thanks for the support. Now, today I want to talk about Apple and especially Apple's future in India. Now, Apple has never been in the top of the game in India. Why does India matter so much? Because India is the second most populous country in the world and possesses a largely untapped electronics market. Every manufacturer wants a piece of action. In India, so does Apple. Their 5-year plan in 2015 to increase their revenue from the country from 1 billion to 5 billion by 2020 was Apple's first ever real attempt to capture the Indian market. And Tim Cook even visited India in 2016. He visited a temple, wore a scarf, hung out with a few Bollywood celebrities, met up with the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, and talked to him about the exemption from the tax, the foreign tax, in hopes that that would be enough to solve all of his problems in India. But things didn't turn out as he expected. The company Apple didn't get any tax, any reduction in tax in the country, and actually the company saw a U-turn in their revenue, which they enjoyed till 2013. In 2018, they only managed to make 1.8 billion revenue from the country. Their target was 4 billion. So, what are the difficulties Apple is facing in India? Is it really that difficult for a company like Apple, who conquered the West market at one point or another, to make a stand in India? As it turns out, it is kind of difficult for Apple. The first problem with Apple products are its high price. Apple products are really expensive in the country. It's almost as expensive as a second-hand car. Now, if you're in the US, you might be thinking, yeah, Apple is expensive here too. But Apple is almost twice as expensive in India. For an example, let's take the example of iPhone 11. Its base model costs $700 in the US. In India, it costs about $913. Now that's a price difference of more than $200. And how cheap, and remember, iPhone 11, the base model, is their cheaper, affordable option. Now, how cheap is the cheap option in a country where the per capita income is just $16,000? I mean, $1,600. I'm sorry. It doesn't need any imagination. You can imagine. And the biggest reason for this price hike, it's not only the Apple tax, that's a part of it, but the biggest reason is the tax government of India imposes on foreign-made electronics. As a part of their Make in India campaign. Every foreign made electronics faces a 20% hike in tax or tariff in the country. And in order to get away from this tariff, the manufacturer has to start their plant manufacturing. They have to start manufacturing in the country, employing Indian workforces. So, other manufacturers like Samsung, Xiaomi, Oppo responded rather magnificently to this Make in India scheme of the government. They started their big manufacturing plants in cities like Chennai, Hyderabad, etc. And established players like Samsung already had big manufacturing facilities in the country because they realized the importance of Indian market long before Apple. Apple, being Apple, decided not to do that. So the products from established players like Samsung and Xiaomi, their flagship products, are much less expensive than Apple's flagship. Actually, the Samsung Galaxy S series and Note series are slightly cheaper in India than in US, as far as I understand. But Apple is 200. The base model of Apple iPhone is $200 more. So that's one factor. Another big factor is that Indian buyers consider value for money more than anything. Indians are not poor, they are not cheap, but Indians give value the utmost importance. They want the maximum value for the amount of money they pay. So that's why they are not willing to pay the Apple tax. The Apple tax that is $200 more than the US. So that's one factor. Another factor is, like I mentioned, the per capita income. Indians, the per capita income of the country is $1,600. So imagine a person earning that kind of money in a year, buying $1,000 phone. It's ridiculous. And remember, most Indians still doesn't own a smartphone. Only 24% of the population currently owns a smartphone, and it's projected to go up to 36% by 2020. That's why India is such an important market. India is an untapped gold mine, and in this gold mine, the market share of Apple is only 2%. Compare that to Samsung's, where is it? Samsung's 25% and Xiaomi's even bigger, 28%. You would see how difficult it is for Apple to catch up with these companies. Another issue is adoption. It's difficult to convince people to change their ecosystem, something which they get comfortable with. When the Apple iPhone was released in the US, it was a revolutionary product. There wasn't any other product as revolutionary as the iPhone at that time. So many people adopted it early. Many people bought it. It was such immensely popular among everyone, especially people who are interested in technology, tech fans. So there were many early adopters. Now, a big part of Apple sales in the US is still that early adopters, because they have been loyal to the company. They have been comfortable with the ecosystem. So a big chunk of Apple's revenue come from these customers. In India, however, by the time Apple took India seriously, most Indians were already invested in Windows and Android. So it was difficult for Apple to convince them to change the ecosystem. Add the Apple tax into that equation, you get the picture. Another issue is Apple's sales and service in the country. Now, Apple is proud about their sales and service in the West market, especially US, and rightly so, because they provide great customer experience, they provide great after-sales service, software updates, software support, etc. A great example of this is the Apple stores and the Genius Bar. So, but when it comes to India, things are quite different. There are no Apple stores, first of all. There are no Genius Bars. The main issue behind that is that Make in India I told you about. It requires manufacturers to buy their components from local vendors to allow them to establish their stores and retail services in the country. And as you know, Apple is very selective about the components they use. They always manufacture their iPhones from their Foxconn facility in China, and they have certain specifications. They stick to that. So that's the reason behind Apple stores or Genius Bars in the country. So the sales and service is done through third-party service providers, and the experience is abysmal at best. It may take weeks or even some cases months to do a simple battery replacement. And speaking of battery replacement, remember that battery replacement program Apple offered for $30? Well, Apple users, iPhone users in India, they had a difficult time getting that offer because many such third-party service providers uh, refused to accept their phones, touting that the phone is not compatible with the offer. But it was clearly stated in the Apple's website that models, specific iPhone 6s, 6 and 7 are eligible for this, but these third-party service provided did not provide that service. And when it comes to out of warranty repairs, they implement their own policies, which is not good, as you can guess. Another issue is software. The software experiences, if you're in India, is really bad. Apple Maps still can't recognize certain landmarks, still can't provide directions to some places. Siri finds it very difficult to understand the Indian accent, and there is no Apple Pay in the country, and Apple Music has a lot less, regional music library compared to the competitors like Ghana and Wink, etc. So this is the experience a customer gets if they buy a Apple product, $1,000 premium product. This is the premium experience they have to go through, which is another big issue. So what is the solution? Well, some people think that bringing a cheap $500 iPhone to emerging markets like India, Brazil, etc. will be a great move, and I agree. That will entice a lot of customers because that's the price range where most sales in India takes place. Example OnePlus, but that's not enough. Apple have to iron out the wrinkles in software, and they have to start their own, either they have to improve the third party sales and services experience, or they have to start their own sales and service, the Apple Store, etc. For that, they have to manufacture products locally. So these are the only solutions that's in front of Apple. Now, there is still hope if you are an Apple fan in India, because Apple is looking outside of China to manufacture their phones because of the US-China trade wars, etc. And India is in consideration. And Apple has started to manufacture the iPhone X. Although it's an old model, they started to manufacture iPhone X in the country, which is good news. And Apple was already manufacturing older products, like cheaper products like iPhone 7 and 6s in India. And Indian-made iPhones are being exported to Europe. That means Apple is satisfied with the products manufactured in the country, which is another good news. And in WWDC 2009, Apple made some India-specific announcement, which I think are right steps. The first one is Apple added Indian male and female Siri voices, and they said they improved in the Indian accent. They improved Siri to understand Indian accent better, and they added additional 22 regional languages in the Apple in the software, which is another good news. And the Apple iPhone 11 was the base model 11 was warmly received in the country. Actually, I've heard that there was a queue in front of the stores which sells the phone. A great news. And the iPhone XR dropped prices due to the launch of the iPhone 11. That also was warmly welcomed by the customers. And there is a rumor that a successor to the very popular iPhone SE is coming soon in 2020, the iPhone SE 2. And it's rumored to have a $399 price tag. And if that phone comes in that price tag or somewhere even close to that, and I think that will be an important release for Apple in the country. So it seems the Apple has not rotten yet. So what do you think? Will your next phone will be an iPhone? Or do you think Apple is doomed in the country? Do tell me. So that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed and bye.